Hello everybody, Phil Chenevert here. Yes, I'm still here, even though I've been busy doing other things, but I'm here. And this is why do we say that? And why do we use the phrase, go for that brass ring? Go for the brass ring. I heard that phrase, well actually a week ago, but a person was referring to trying hard, going to win, get that brass ring, going a little extra, okay? That's the implication of what that phrase means in English, to go for that brass ring or get the brass ring. What we're talking about here is, well, it's a fascinating history that I'm going to enjoy telling you about. In uh, in the late Middle Ages, the people liked festivals, like always. They like to have festivals, and they would get together and they would remember the good old days when knights would roam fighting evil on their horses and their chargers, and they would pretend they would remember the day, because this was hundreds of years after that. They would remember this, and they would have pageants in Italy. We're talking about Italy. And they would get together, and the men and would dress their horses up. They'd decorate them, and then they would all, of course, there would be a big festival. There'd probably be a lot of eating involved, of course. But at this festival, they would have a Caroussell, which was a groups of men would dress up their horses and pretend to fight and run at each other and do things like that. And it was obviously, they enjoyed it. Anything for a parade. And it was a Caroussell, and that's going to the word carousel, but it went to French, and then finally it came to English as a carousel, meaning the gaily dressed horses and the pretend jousting and the pretend fighting and things like that. So now, in the early 1600s, they in France and in Italy, they kept this up, but they started stylizing these fights, and they call them the merry-goes. Now, if you think this is going toward carousel and merry-go-round, it is, because what they would do was they would have they would get the lance, they'd put up a cardboard head, like somewhere, and the young men would get on their horses, and they would try to get that with a cardboard head or the goal, and they would get it. Of course, if they got it, they probably would win a prize or something. So when we started mechanizing this, we turned it into a carousel. We kept the name. So in New Orleans, where I grew up, we had a beautiful, huge carousel in City Park, and I rode on it many times. The music was the typical loud music, and the horses would go up, and they were all gaily dressed. You look at these horses, they all got big bridles on and things all over them. That's the simulation that we carried from from the carousellos. Now, we also carried the idea that a man riding a horse is hard. When you got a lance, it's hard to keep that thing straight, so the horses go up and down. That's why the horses go up and down. And also, we replaced the target with a little arm with a brass ring on it. And if you lean out and you can grab that brass ring, this is your lance. If you get it, that you would probably win another ride for free. Now, was that a safety hazard? You bet. I'm sure there are lots of kids hurt themselves terribly by leaning. I used to lean way out. I never got it. But that's where we get the phrase, to go for the brass ring. You got to go way out to get that brass ring. And when you get it, you win. That's where the phrase comes from. That's where our phrase carousel, and of course merry-go-round, we think it just means it's a merry-go-round. No, like I said, they called the groups of men that would dress up as merry-goes. 2 words, merry-goes. And it all fits together. It's astounding, folks, how our language brings history. However, we have all this stuff. Thank you. That's it. Bye-bye. I'll talk to y'all later. And go find a carousel.